Hello and welcome. And today we are talking about the change direction of local governance. Now, in any civilization and in any country, the fastest it will move forward depends on how fast its local government or how effective its local government is. But you and I, what do we know of the local government? How much do we have to participate? How much do we have to help? Indeed, it's not just central government, and is central government going to literally or really decentralize and give the local authorities that power that they need to move forward? And then the question of even election comes up. Now we hear of the Great Sanitation Day. Is it going to work? The ministry is now moving from region to working. How effective is that? Today we are going to educate ourselves on the importance of local government. My name is Nana Nsakwao, and this is PM Express. When I come back, I am talking to experts on local government. Well, the change direction of local governance, thanks for staying tuned. A very, very important subject. Indeed, a nation's advancement really depends on this true change, if it has happened. And with me in the studio to talk about this, my immediate left is Samuel Kingsford Selga, who's a research fellow for Center for Policy Research. Samuel, you're welcome. And then I have Dr. Eric Osei, Dean of Student Institute of Local Government Studies. Doc, you're welcome.
Okay, my brother.
Doc, I want to start with you. Decentralization. Local government really depends on decentralization. We have a system where, central government still, I've decentralized you, but I'll tell you what to go and do there, rather than you decide that, listen, I'm in this locality, a sufficient locality, therefore I want to channel 80% of my resources to boost that industry. But then local government says, no, use 10% here, 20% here, 40% here, and at the end of the day, everybody will say, I'll buy in here. But then I might just say, no, I've spent X amount of money there. I mean, will it ever happen, and how can we achieve it?
Thank you very much, and I would say good evening to our viewers. It would ever happen because we've had examples of countries that have made it. So it gives us hope that we'll be able to make it as a country. I think a number of people don't understand the concept of decentralization and local governance, and that is why we are where we are. If we understand it, we would see that it is just the transfer of power, functions, authority, and resources by a central government unit to a local government unit. The local government unit to exercise those powers, resources, and functions for the benefit of the ordinary Ghanaian. So then the local government becomes the agent of government at the local government level to bring development closer to the average Ghanaian. What it then means is that you, the average Ghanaian, the local government is expected to bring development. So you hold the local government accountable for those resources decentralized to the local government. The interesting thing is that people don't hold local government accountable. They rather prefer looking up to the center. Whereas the center has delegated these functions to the local government. That is the challenge we have. If everybody would hold the local government accountable for the performance of the delegated functions given to them by the central government, local government in this country would sit up because the functions have already been decentralized. What central government normally does is that in a unitary state, you don't decentralize everything. You leave certain things to the center. But occasionally, you quality assure the process and see whether it has been implemented as required. And that is the stage where we are in our development paradigm. For now, I see it to be, the challenge to be from the demand side than the supply side. Citizens are not demanding their pound of flesh from local governments.
Samuel, see, local government has got the perfect excuse, the DCE. Oh, the common fund hasn't come. So don't come and demand anything from me. Any day it comes, I'll do it. And then by the time the common fund comes, he says, well, because he came 8 months late, I am so much in debt, it's all gone. So let's wait for the next one. I mean, is that a perfect excuse for local government to get out after, we've followed doctors' advice and put pressure on the DC?
Yes, let me say that the local government system is very important and critical to our socio-economic development. Now, Doc said earlier that we have to hold the people accountable. To what extent does central government make it possible for the local assemblies to execute their mandates? So if you don't release their allocations to them, how effective are they going to be? How are they going to operate? And then talking about decentralization, I'm not sure we have come to a firm conclusion on the kind of services that should even be decentralized. Common business registration. If somebody from a village wants to register a business, the person will have to travel all the way to either Kumasi or Accra. Can't we have offices in the district assemblies or at the district level to enable these young people who may not have all the money it takes to travel to Accra to just register their businesses and operate, whether it's a tabletop business or whatever? So these are some of the things we need to look at. Are we fully decentralized, or we have decentralized certain functions when we are giving certain other critical functions that should be decentralized to the central government? These are the issues we should be looking at. I believe that we still have some more work to do. It's not just saying the district assemblies. The resources are not there, so how do they function? We have some assemblies that are stronger, they are richer, they can function or do everything on their own. KMA, AMA, they take a lot of property taxes. They can do certain things compared to Chereponi or Bia district, where even a lorry park they don't have. So can't we allow these assemblies like KMA, AMA to do certain things on their own, so that by way of reforms, we reduce the amount of allocations we give to them and give more to those assemblies that lack resources to be able to operate effectively?
Doc, you think, KMN, are they due to be, they are old enough now to, go and look after yourselves?
Well, I would subscribe to that. I think I'll be on record to have said that it's about time we win them off the District Assembly's Common Fund, because it is making those assemblies lazy in terms of resource mobilization and even utilization. Because we have other assemblies who don't have the capacity and the opportunities to mobilize the revenue, the kind of revenue they are able to mobilize. So if I have my own way, and if the law so permits, all metropolitan assemblies and then municipal assemblies who are doing well should be weaned off the District Assembly's Common Fund. They have a lot of money, so, and they have the opportunities, and they have what it takes to mobilize enough. But let me also correct this impression. In law, no local government is poor. In law, no local government is poor, because before the local government is created, an economic viability analysis is undertaken. This economic viability analysis seems to suggest that the local government in the next 20 years should be able to generate, mobilize enough resources through innovative means to be able to support whatever government will send to them. On record, the Common Fund is only 20% of what the assemblies need to operate. The assemblies are expected to mobilize money from IGF. They're expected to mobilize money from public-private partnership. They're expected to mobilize money from what we call the DDF. They're expected to mobilize money from corporate social responsibility obligations. They're expected to mobilize money from investment. So what we need is that you need somebody who is very innovative, a leader who will think outside the box, a leader who will make sure that all these things come. So the understanding is that even if the Common Fund is not coming, you are losing 20% of your revenue. What kinds of innovative strategies have you put in place to be able to activate the remaining 80% sources of revenue? And again, when the assemblies are created, this economic viability report is there. So we expect chief executives or the leadership of the assembly to go chase this economic viability report based on which the assembly was created, so that you look at the projections that went into doing the analysis of your revenue potential. Please come in. Yes.
You see, what you're saying is a bit frightening, that if the District Common Fund is only 20%.
That's right.
Because every time the excuse is that this 20% hasn't come, and therefore almost business is at standstill. So where is that 80%?
I'm telling you that the District Assembly is just a fraction of the resources that should be available to local government. No local government can operate with these assemblies Common Fund alone. We have the IGF for them. Public-private partnership options are there. corporate social responsibility obligation, we expect them to activate it, as I said. And they are expected to also put in place systems in such a way that we call something District Development Facility, DDF. If you have, you earn the DDF by implementing good management practices. That is all. We give you the DDF. And the municipal assemblies, we give them UDG, which is what we call the Urban Development Grant. So if you have the Urban Development Grant, which is a minimum of $400,000 a year, if you have the DDF, if you have the IGF, if you have the public-private partnership coming in, and they can even borrow. They can even borrow. So if the common fund is not coming, what happens to the other sources? That is not to say that it is an excuse for the government not to transfer the common fund. But we should look at the other side again. If 80% are not being activated, then it means either it is intentional or they just want to wait for the government to bring the money.
Samuel, is it that we're being kept in the dark and ignorant about it? Because, well, if you're not going to demand the 80 and you're just so desperate for the 20, well, sit down. When it comes, I'll let you know when it comes. Because you never know any DC to come up and say, listen, you know what, we've gotten our DDF, we've gotten our IGF, and therefore this is the way forward. What do you people think? I've never heard anything like that.
I think that's the story we always hear, that we don't have allocation, common fund hasn't come. And I believe somewhere last year or 2 years ago, I said it in this very studio, when the DCs were about to be appointed, that we need people who will be innovative. That was when we said the president should even give them performance contracts, so that if the allocation is not coming, the DC should be somebody who can lead the team to mobilize resources internally to be able to perform some of the basic functions that the assembly has to perform. So I think we need to look at that area also. It's an area we need to explore very well, so that all those internally generated funds will be mobilized very well. Property tax and all those things that are needed to be collected. If they are being collected, how well are they being used? Where are we channeling those resources? So if we're able to use those funds very well, then we can make a case that we have been able to exhaust these funds. We need more to perform this task.
Doc, the minister is now moving from region to region, moving his office from region to region. I mean, there are lots of people who think, well, it's a good idea. I mean, you know, move your office there, see what's going on the ground. I love Julius so much as a minister because he's going all out to do what he can. Whether it works or not, he's, you know, doing what he can. And I think it's a good thing. You know, if you're given a place of work, do all you can. Whether you win or you fail, you tried, and we all saw that you tried. But what my beef about him is that no matter how, you know, incompetent an MC is or a mayor or whatever it is, he just doesn't sack them. So I find that a bit disappointing. So whether he goes from region to region, he'll go and come back and don't sack them. And if you don't sack them, they won't work.
Thank you very much. Let me say that under the Local Government Act and the Constitution, it is not the Minister for Local Government who sacks DCs. DCs are appointed, and the appointments are revoked by His Excellency the President. The President gives the directives, and the Minister writes the letter. So the Minister can recommend for the dismissal of a Chief Executive, but he cannot dismiss.
Well, he's not recommending.
Well, I don't have the evidence, but I think that.
Well, I confronted him in public. And
that he's not sacking Chief Executive. No, he doesn't. It is not within his capacity to do that. No, I mean, he makes the recommendation.
Get rid of them. I mean, some must be gotten rid of. You know, but some of their negligence are too blatant. They should be gotten rid of.
To be ignored.
Yeah, to be ignored. You know, they should be gotten rid of. Medina, there was a market in the middle of the road.
That's right.
I mean, literally in the middle of the road. And then there became a refuse dump. And I'm thinking, how can there be an MC who would draw a paycheck at the end of the month when the highway is turned into a market? Surely he has to go home, put somebody else there, and I'm sure because they don't want to go home, they will do the job. I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh.
You are not being too harsh. That's the way to go. If we are able to sacrifice one or two, it will send a strong signal to people to set up. Indeed, there are a lot of laxity in the system when it comes to performance. It is not only on the part of the Chief Executive, on the part of certain technical officers, especially those who go out there to chase the market women and then to collect property rates. There is some level of laxity. You don't set targets for them, whether they mobilize or not. At the end of the month, they pay them. If we set targets for them, and we don't pay them at the end of the month, and we sanction them, they will sit up. Local government in Ghana has not prioritized revenue mobilization. And for me, I think that is where the challenge is. Whereas a business like your organization will not take chances if you don't mobilize the revenue, because they pay you out of the revenue. And local government will not do that because the central government will bring the money. In terms of funding local government, apart from the common fund, it is the central government that pays the salaries of staff of the local government. So the common fund doesn't even go into the payment of salaries. So whether they work or not, at the end of the month, you go to the bank and your money is there. So people must set up. We need to sacrifice a few officers and others would sit up. It will send a strong signal to them that, look, we are no more prepared to take that particular attitude towards work. And if we work like that, we'll see development in this country.
There's a new sheriff in town, Julius Debra. He's now moving from, region to region, moving the office from region to region. How effective? What's that going to bring?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it will create some kind of awareness and draw the people's attention to the fact that they need to get involved, especially with the Sanitation Day initiative, which I support. At least it will bring the people's mind to the fact that we need to do something. Local governance, it is our own level, so let's do it. But looking at the whole concept of the Sanitation Day, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. It is good to do that. From previous times, we used to have this communal labor and stuff, which faded away. So this is reigniting the spirit of that communal labor system in our communities. But I think what we need in that regard is attitudinal change. Because we can go around the country 10 times with this campaign, but if the attitude of the people do not change, we'll still have this situation with us for years to come. We need to change as a people. Because I don't need a whole minister to come to my community to tell me, don't put this rubber in the gutter. The minister will come and go, but if I don't change as a person, it will still remain with us. And I think our people need some kind of education. When this whole thing started, I think Zoom Lion started sharing some dustbin. It was reported that in a certain community, the people use the brand new dustbin as a water storage facility. Does it mean our people don't know the use of a dustbin? These are questions that we have to be asking. So we need to conscientize our people very well. If we don't change as a people, there's no way a minister can come from Accra to our local level and then within a day or two, everything will change.
Dr. San, we have a serious problem when it comes to attitudinal change, because I'm told in some area, if the cleaning day falls on Saturday, all the NP people quickly come out on Friday and clean up. So that Saturday they don't join up in the cleaning. So you can't exactly say that they didn't clean, but they just won't clean that day because they feel that cleaning that day tags them as NDC. Now that is a dangerous way to think.
Yes, I agree with you, and I think it's rather unfortunate if it is indeed happening like that, because the issue of sanitation doesn't discriminate between political colors. If it will kill you, it will kill you, no matter who you are. So I think, one, we should disabuse our minds of that, and we should move away from politicizing the issues of sanitation. It is a national canker, and we need to approach it in a wholly nationalistic manner. Let me also say that with the National Sanitation Day, I think we have started well as a country, but we should decentralize it. The district assembly should own the process. The filth is generated at the local level. So when the minister started moving from one region to the other, I was expecting district chief executive to own up the process. The minister does it at the end of every month. Do it every 2 weeks as a chief executive. So then you raise the standard. And in doing it, task all the assembly members to also clean their communities. So every assembly member, mobilize the people in your community and do it so that you decentralize it. It's a National Sanitation Day, so they see it as a national activity rather than a local activity. But the filth is generated at the local level. It's very important we localize it. If we continue centralizing it, we are going to fail. Because if the minister moves to a region, the action is at the regional capital. But what is happening in the villages? So I think the chief executive should own it up. They should take it up, run with it. Assembly members and the unit committee members should take the challenge, to take up the challenge and mobilize their members. They should do it every 2 weeks so that the national one can happen any other month. You know the field level in your community. And if we are able to do that, gradually, we'll join hands in cleaning and clearing the filth in Ghana.
That's what I was saying with you. See, admittedly, most of the filth happens in the sort of the metropolitan areas. Because if you go to the villages, they're pretty much clean because they seem to tidy up. They still have that old habit. But as soon as we move into the big, we lose all our morals. You know, yabakru kesiem, so therefore drop everything. I don't know if because of the lack, you don't feel belonging, or you don't think I own this space. But as soon as we come to the big towns, we become, you know, dirty. But back in the villages, everybody owns their space and clean up.
I think we are not cracking the whip enough in the cities. In the villages, you know, you know that the chief would worry you. You know that an elderly old man there would see you and say that, oh, excuse me to say, you know. But you come to the cities, even to make bylaws and then enforce sanitation bylaws is a challenge. So that is part of the problem. But in the cities, I agree with you, they generate most of the filth. But in that case, to solve the problem, let us enforce the bylaws without discrimination. Let us enforce the bylaws without discrimination. And those who are paid to manage the waste must manage it, and they should also be paid.
Sami, the way in which local government is run, where from the onset, whoever is there owes allegiance to the president and not necessarily to the people there. I mean, how can everything that we are talking about work? Because from the day one, your allegiance there is to me and not necessarily the people.
Yeah, it's a kind of difficult situation that the people always find themselves in. I mean the DCs, but they are people who hail from the locality. So if you say the president appointed me, and this thing is right, and so because president appointed me, I will not do it, then you are not being a good ambassador of your own people.
Sure. There's a pickup. There's a pickup and Land Cruiser at stake. Yeah. Stay tuned. I'm coming back. There's a pickup and a Nizam Patrol at stake. Are you going to lose that because of your people? I'm coming straight back.
The minister, after visiting the Adenta municipality, where the exercise was 40% complete, advised municipal and metropolitan chief executives who have challenges to consult their colleagues who have made significant progress and tap their knowledge and skills.
I'm sure what the president meant at the time was that everybody must be seen doing something, undertaking a street naming exercise by the end of the ultimatum he had given. Because sometimes if you don't give people ultimatum, then you say, oh, fix the street names. I mean, somebody would take that to mean the next 3 years or the next 4 years. But once the president gives a tag as an ultimatum, then at least everybody needs to kickstart or possibly complete within the time. And
for those who have made substantial progress with the naming of their streets, the minister urged them to fast-track it, warning there will be sanctions.
Guarantee you that as flexible as we're trying to be, if by the end of 30th September, there are chief executives who are able to chest out and say that I have done nothing, that is a serious thing that we'll discuss when we get there. If you are a chief executive for 1.5 years, 18 months, and you say that you've not been able to do anything at all about the exercise, it's an indictment on your efficiency.
The municipal chief executive of the area, Benjamin Agenu, assured the minister he will meet the ultimatum.
What we have done so far is, in terms of numbers, we've been able to approve 968 street names, and we've started with 100 of them. And that is what you are seeing. This is Lamijawe street, and it goes on to the other side. The other side is Ajiman Avenue. When you go to the other areas, you see other. This very road is the Lamijawe area. So we are ongoing. We are doing it gradually. We are hoping that very soon we'll be able to cover the whole of Adenta.
The president's deadline expires this month, and yet many streets are yet to be named. It remains to be seen whether the job will be done before this month expires and whether indeed sanctions will be applied. Justice Kwesi Forsons reports for Joy News.
Well, thanks for staying. The president's deadline is this month. The minister's deadline is September. You see, so there's too much laxity, as we're saying. So if you're DC, you just know that, oh, come September, I complete to December. But that's also another very important subject. We're discussing and we'll come back to selecting of the DC. That's also a very important exercise. The other flip side I was worrying about is we have developed this habit by, you want the plantain seller, you want the blue kiosk, the bent, pole for directions. I'm wondering how long it will take us to get used to Ajimai Avenue and, Lehman Avenue. What else do we have to do to get used to street naming as a people?
I think the approach, the way it was approached, is one way of sensitizing the people, because most of these district assemblies selected the names through consultation, through traditional authorities and the citizens. And one other way of making it popular is the fact that we can start using it to deliver letters. We can also start using it to address documents, so that if you live on number 3 Ajima Street at Adenta, for instance, in directing people, you stop directing people using the Lotto kiosk. Come to number 3 Ajima Street. And the local government should also start putting people at various points, directing people to, this is Ajima Street, this is that, this is that. And they should also come out and then do sensitization on the various radio stations. It is something that local government are not doing well at all, that interaction. They should come out and then explain it to people and encourage people to use it. And they should also move their consultation from locality to locality. And as and when they move it to from one locality to the other, they should explain the rationale, they should explain where they are to them and how they can get there. So gradually, people will get to know. But it is good as Ghanaians, we go to that, because it is one way of helping us develop. They've done the street naming, it is led with the house numbering. And I'm sure once they're able to do the house numbering, it will move the process to another level.
So, because, at the moment, the bankers are stinging us with a lot of interest. And some of the things they say is that, because I don't know where you live. So, if we don't back these things up, at least we can get 2% of, our loans.
Yes, I think it's very important, because it will reduce lending risk, the risk associated with lending. Insurance companies will be able to identify and insure properties. It will even reduce crime, or response to crime will be very, very much stronger, because if I know a particular direction and I can call the police and say, I'm at this location, they can get there instead of telling them, walk past a plantain seller and there's a big tree, and behind the tree is my house. So I think this is very important. But as Doc said, I think we need a communication plan that must come with this street naming. Else it will just be on paper and people will not use it. A clear example is Akwaje interchange. Up to now, trotro drivers still refer to the place as Sankara. There's a runabout in Kumasi, Swami runabout. And I'm told it was changed to Osei to or something. Up to today, people refer to the place as Swami runabout. So we need a clear communication plan. Let's meet with trotro drivers, dressmakers in the communities. Educate them, let them know the essence of this exercise, and let's just help them to use the names. Let us continuously educate them, maybe once every month, or we meet them, how is it going? Are people getting familiar? There must be a monitoring system in place to make sure that these things are done. But I think, as it stands now, I stand for correction, the district assemblies were left to do their own naming, which I think will not help. Because I believe that just as the Electoral Commission had the polling station naming system, we should have maybe code numbers are attached to the names, so that if today I'm at a particular location, something happens to me, but I'm an illiterate, I cannot read the name, at least I can see a number. And if I call, I can see, this is 00124. If there's a database, the police will go into the database and know that 00124 is a street name in maybe Abokobi. By the code numbers. Because if you take the Electoral Commission system, if you take a polling, 001 is Greater Accra, followed by the district code and then the polling station.
Okay.
So if we attach some of these things to it to make it more effective, also we must make use of technology. These days we have gadgets that you can use. I traveled to Belgium last year and I wanted to go to a particular place. I met a young man. I just gave him the address. He took a gadget out of his pocket, typed the address, and so you are just 10 minutes away from your location. Pick a bus, alight here, and I was able to So we can make use of some of these things to enhance the system.
Let's just finish naming first. Let's at least get to our September deadline first. But, Doc, going back to how CEO or district executives are chosen, if I may say, you know, you go there, go and look out for the interest of the people. I give you a pickup, I give you a Land Cruiser, whatever it is. But in any case, watch my back and I watch your back. And you can tell for the effect, because it's very hardly for a DC to mount a platform and say, I demand my 20% because it's not coming. Oh, you know, you have to choose your words very carefully because you're on the same side. But I'm sure if he was independent, he would have really charged the finance and said, listen, you get me the money today, or I'll be, you know, coming down to your office with red bands. Can we change that?
I would agree. I want to agree with you that we need to change it. And in changing it, I would go for full election of the chief executive. And when we elect the chief executive, we should give them performance contracts. Once we give them performance contracts, we should make them city managers, professional managers. In that case, we can recall them if we think they are not performing. The assembly can abrogate the contract if we think they are not performing. The present arrangement is not helping matters, as you rightly said. It's not helping matters because of the allegiance, because of some chief executives are very, very effective and efficient. If you go to KMA, I'll give him thumbs up. This is somebody who wants to introduce business principles into the management of the local government. But I realize that he's crippled by the system. Yeah. And it gets to a point in time where he is crippled by the system. You know, so if we elect chief executive and he becomes accountable to the people, and the people hold him responsible for bringing development, we will make progress. If we don't elect chief executive and continue with the appointment process, we will see progress, but at a slow pace.
I mean, since I'm a chief, I mean, who else is more concerned about the local and knows the local matter than the chief? Why don't they put a chief there as the head? Because he has no allegiance. He's no MPP, he's no NDC, he's nobody. He's a chief and...
You mean as the chief executive?
You're the chief executive.
That's one. You know, we revered you, the traditional authority, so much so that this business of managing local government is a business that requires that you manage everybody. And people are becoming discerning. They would demand their right. We don't expect to see a situation where an average person will look straight into the chief's face and say, Nana, you haven't done ABCD. We don't want that. What I think should happen is that the chief's position must be revered. The chief must be there to occasionally come in to crack the whip. So the chief should come in and call the chief executive to his palace and say that, look, my brother, you are not doing ABCD. I want you to do ABCD. That is the kind of role we want to reserve for the chiefs. Because if you make the chief executive, you have created a problem for the chieftaincy institution, because you have then brought it too close to people and people can say anything to it. But since time immemorial, it has been a very revered institution and we want to leave it at that.
You see, I did a show on That's My Opinion on my radio show.
That's right.
And I was saying that the way at which locals hold us chiefs accountable, if they held central government that accountable, things like that. Because you sell one plot of land, everybody wants to know what happened to that plot of land. 100 cities, and they all want to see where the 100 cities went. You see, however, you know, it could be Jida Suba and it could be hundreds of millions, and they think it's too far away for them to even question it or make any agitation. So what I'm saying is that if you put chiefs there, the people will demand more than what they demand, because they feel the DC is a bit far away. But the chief, we are held very accountable.
Yes.
So would it help if, I'm still proposing that if the chief was leading the local authority, I think the people would demand more.
And I'm sure the chief can also promote unity. But I was looking at the bit about revering,
keeping the office sacred.
Keeping the office sacred. That is the bit I'm worried about, because if you expose it to unnecessary interferences and people can look straight into a chief's face and ask certain questions, which is alien to our culture, indirectly we lose some of our values, which I don't know what will happen to us in future. But that notwithstanding, we can give it a try. After all, we have chiefs on the Council of State advising the president. So we can have same at the local level.
So what would happen? I mean, why don't we just open, like Doc is saying, that look, go, MPP, NDC,
yes.
CPP, just run for the office. If the people think you're good, they'll take you.
Yes, I believe that will be more appropriate. Let's open it up. Let the people contest. Now, when we elect you as a DCE, you have the responsibility of mobilizing funds. You cannot come and tell us that central government did not give us money. And because the person was elected and would like to be re-elected, the person will do whatever it takes to make sure that he does something. But this one is by appointment. So he listens to the president. President says there's no money today. Central government says there's no money. So they'll come and tell the people, central government says there's no money, so let's wait. But they will not say central government says there's no money, so let's not draw our salaries. They will do that. But if you are elected at a local level and you know that if you don't perform, look at our MPs, when it's getting to election year, they try and do something for the people to re-elect them. That same thing can be done with the DCs. They will try, at least they will do some kind of job there. And it will, if somebody comes today and does something later, tomorrow another person comes, gradually the process of development will reach a certain stage. But on the chief's issue, I think it will rather expose them to some kind of public ridicule, and it will destroy the traditional value system. Because anybody at all can come and say, "Nana, na okra, we discuss. Now we are comfort him." And yes, anybody at all can come and tell you whatever they want, and it will lead to a total breakdown of our traditional value system. So I think we should rather leave them where they are now, but they should collaborate more with the DCEs, as Doc is saying. They should always be in touch with them. This is our people. This is what we think can be done for them. But with the little resources you have, how can we put it to a meaningful use to bring some impact in the society? I think that would be better.
The other thing I find also is, let's say if, Sujama was a CPP, run by a CPP head, and then the next district was being run by MPP head, the competition to show that, I brought more water, or I brought more jobs, or I built more schools, would just be fantastic.
Very. And it will improve social accountability, because the citizens will see the difference. Then they will say that, look, go to the next district, the man is doing wonders. You, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it will bring, the competition will bring development. So we should just give it a try, and let's see how it goes.
Again, Doc, I mean, won't it free central government of certain responsibilities? Because if I have given it to them, then now you can't come back to me, because clearly it's not within my realm. Because I think they are getting so much of a flack, I need KVIP, where's the president? I need a street light, where's the president? Everything, all back to Flagstaff House. So I think even central government itself, maybe it will have time to do other things.
Yeah, a lot of them. And there are a lot of things that central government does, which is not the best use of central government time, seriously. Because you see delegations upon delegations coming from districts to the president to appoint somebody as the chief executive. The people need water, they come to Accra. Whatever they need, they come to Accra. That is not the essence of local governance. Hold the local leaders accountable, and if they fail to perform, you come to the national level. And in most cases, you get the center coming in because a district chief executive or the assembly setup has failed the people. And any decentralization system that allows the center to occasionally come in, it's not worth practicing. So as you rightly said, it will free the center a lot of resources. It will free them a lot of time and energy to concentrate on the most important national matters that will bring the required development. And it will promote competition. Above all, it will enable them to recruit the most qualified people to work with. Because if I am the leader, I have been elected, I have been given a task, I need qualified and competent people to work with. If you fail to support me to deliver, I'll fire you before I am fired. So it will then also bring competency, technical competency to the local government level. Let me also add that once the chief executives are elected, the chief executive should be given the opportunity to appoint their own people at the local government level. In that case, you can't hold him accountable. You can't hold him if he fails. But if you allow them to be elected and the center continue to transfer technical staff to them, then you are tying their hands behind them. Elect them and then tell them that, look, we have given you this mandate for 1 year. Recruit the kinds of people you want to recruit, just as we do at the center. A minister goes there and then or a president comes, which is the equivalent of chief executive, and the president has the liberty to appoint his ministers. Why can't the chief executive, if elected, be given the liberty to appoint his district finance officer, his district budget officer, his district planning officer, and then they work? So that recruitment is also decentralized at the local government level. And we see high-level competency. In countries like Uganda, local government competes amongst themselves in terms of recruitment. Because if an accountant is in this local government and he's performing wonders, this local government wants to poach the gentleman by paying him more. Because if he comes to my district, he will help me mobilize enough.
That's good. Now, another thing which we all fall short is local government elections. I mean, at the moment, there's the assemblyman elections going on, and the forms didn't come today, didn't come yesterday. Eventually, it's coming anyway. But most people, don't even know how the assemblyman turns up. You're there, and then all of a sudden, somebody comes in. Well, he's the assemblyman. Why are we so ignorant when it comes to that level of election?
Well, I think we need to do a lot in that regard. And I will begin with the media. The kind of attention we give to parliamentary and presidential elections, we don't give that same attention and publicity to district level elections.
The honorable assemblyman.
Yes. Now we are preparing for district level elections, but very little publicity is being given by the media. We are talking about football now, we are talking about other issues, but that is the core level of development. We are not giving any attention to. So the media must come in and try to create that kind of awareness. Call some assembly members, interview them. What are their plans? Those who are aspiring, what are their plans? And then the people will get to know that something is happening. So I think we need to start from that level. And then at the district level, the district assemblies should also put in place some mechanisms to educate the people. I don't know if we still have the ISD, Information Services Department, vans going around telling the people it is time for district level elections. Come, this is what you have to do. Let's try and educate our people and let them know the essence of these elections, and then they will participate.
Doctor, you seem to agree.
Yeah, I agree. The education level is not that high, and it's rather unfortunate because this is where the action spot is. If you don't go to vote, somebody will elect a leader for you. The way the system is, if even one person goes to vote, that person can elect a local leader for 200,000 people. So we all have to go out there and vote. At the moment, the turnout rate is less than 30%. And people use all kinds of things as excuse. So we are even advocating that on the day of election, which is March 3rd, His Excellency should declare it a public holiday. Local government elections day. We have it in South Africa, we have it in other countries. So that people can go and vote for their leaders. When they are involved, then they are empowered to demand accountability. But if they don't go to vote, I hear even some organizations, if you leave work to go and vote and you come back, they sanction you. Why should that be the case? We should give it equal prominence as we give to the parliamentary or presidential elections. The others who are also advocating that we should do the parliamentary, presidential, and local government elections on the same day. It comes with advantages and disadvantages. Whether or not the people will not get confused on that day. Whether or not the hula baloo that goes with parliamentary and presidential election will not affect, or it will not mar the beauty of the local level elections. Whether or not campaigns will not be in such a way that it will create all kinds of problems. But we should do a lot to sensitize people, because now people are just not interested in the local government election. Meanwhile, that is where the action spot is. And that is the more reason why people will bypass their assembly members and rather go to the MPs for development projects. The MPs don't have development projects. These are the assembly members who can lobby for a development project to be brought to your locality.
Important. I'm going to take a break and then I come back. One thing also about assemblymen is that they are supposed to be non-partisan, but they are always bent to the left or the right. We're coming straight back. Changed direction of local governance, and I'm talking to my immediate left is Samuel Kingsford Selga, who's a research fellow, Center for Policy Research, and then Dr. Eric Odro Osei, Dean of Students, Institute of Local Government Studies. And Doc, I was just talking about, how we delude ourselves to say that, oh, the assemblyman is non-partisan. I mean, in Ghana, I think even air is now divided. If it blows from the left, is this. If it blows from the right, is that. But why don't we just make them also come clean and say, well, this is where I stand, rather than pretend that they don't belong to anywhere?
That's true. I think the original intent of the law thought that if we make it non-partisan, people will stand on their own integrity, and they will be more committed to the people, and it will also bring unity among the people without discrimination. But subsequent events has shown that we better make it partisan. Make it partisan because when you look at the colors of some of the contestants, when you look at the things they do, it goes to suggest that it is more partisan than non-partisan. But I also want to mention to people that the law governing the local level elections in Ghana still says it is non-partisan. So people would be disqualified, and as I hear it happening in other places, that they started disqualifying them. And those political parties who allow these people to use their slogans, their logos, and their motto, those political parties are also culpable, and they can be dealt with under the elections law. For now, it is non-partisan, but on the ground, it seems to me that the partisan bit is very high. This is something that we need to work on if we really want to make the local government the way we have anticipated in law.
So, I don't know about others, but you hear some assemblymen who, for the whole year or 2 years, they've never come to the locality to say that, well, we're going to have this meeting, these are the agendas on there, which one should I speak on your behalf? So God knows what they represent.
It's true, and I would say it is one of the reasons why the people don't know that some assemblymen exist, and they don't even bother to know, because the essence of the whole system is to bring governance to the level of the local people, so that if the assemblyman consults them, we are going to discuss issue A, B, or C. What do you think about it? Then he carries the views of the people to the assembly meeting. But because he's not doing that, the people don't know what he's doing, so they will not even bother to know whether you exist or whether you are doing well. So they go. That is why they will go to the MP, because they know that as for the MP, he will give you at least something small. Yes, but the assemblyman has nothing. But one other factor which accounts for this is the lack of motivation for our assembly members, because the local man who does not have what it takes to mobilize people, even pay for a venue, will sit down and say, I don't have the money. And I believe that in bigger assemblies like the AMA, the KMA, and the TMA, and those, they can actually pay some good allowance to their assembly members to be able to deliver very well. So that is one level, one angle from which we can look at it. The bigger assemblies can motivate their assembly members to do it very well. And then we should also be looking at how to motivate or compensate, not actually pay them, but at least give them some kind of compensation, especially those in the rural areas, so that they will be able to, at least their movement to and from the district headquarters, meeting with the people and all those things. We should have something, some small allowance that can take care of those things, and they will be able to perform very well. On the partisanship level, I would say that they are already partisan. We should not deceive ourselves, even though the law prohibits that, they are already partisan. I went to one of the districts just to observe when they were electing the DCE, and I saw two groups in the hall. They said, okay, we have the majority, but because you have been appointed by your party, we'll vote for you if only our person becomes the presiding member. So if you don't agree for the person from the other side to become the presiding member, then we will not confirm you. Even though you have been nominated by the president, we will not confirm you. We'll vote 10 times and we will not have a DCE because our person is not going to be the presiding member. You can't have the two to yourself. So they are already divided. So maybe, Doc, we should be looking at some certain reforms in the future to look at some of these things.
Look, the unit committee members, we always hear of them, these phantom people. What do they do?
They are expected to be the agents of the district assembly within the units. They are expected to support the district assembly in revenue mobilization. They are expected to support the district assembly in the street naming. They are expected to support the district assemblies in identifying areas that they need to intervene when it comes to development. And they are the lowest units of the local government level where people will have to first send their complaints. So it is a very important level of the local government structures. But most of them are not in operation. They are not operational. So the people in various communities bypass the unit committee and go to the assembly. But under normal circumstances, when an issue crops up, the unit committee members should be able to resolve the issue. If not, then it goes to the district assembly level. So they are the people at the unit level, including the assembly members. In fact, at the assembly member of the area is a member of the unit committee who should be able to listen to them and send the issue up there. So if we are able to operationalize our unit committee system so well, decentralization will be perfect in this country.
I mean, on paper, it's a beautiful system.
It is.
But as soon as it leaves the paper, it just goes haywire.
I agree with you, but you know, it's a process. It is a process. The only thing is that we have to fast track it. We have to fast track the process. If we look at chapter 20 of our 1982 Constitution and what we envisage for ourselves as a nation, if we really had followed through to implement it to the latter, we would have made progress. Because when you look at national level democracy, we are doing well. But local democracy, we are not doing well at all. So you ask yourself, what is happening? Because under normal circumstances, it is the aggregation of the local democracy that becomes national democracy. But now, it is the other way around. It means there is something fundamentally wrong down there. And all of us have to come in to help achieve that.
So, let me say, is it because, you see, because we sort of own allegiances to our tribes and our little towns more than we owe to our nation? Is that what is affecting the, DCs and the local authorities where, my concern is the Dumasa and not necessarily Esujamai. But when I come to Accra, I'm looking to the Flagstaff House. I don't know if...
I think that may be a factor. But we should continue to drum home the point of the Ghanaianness in us. The patriotism and the nationalism bit is waning. And for me, it's a worry. Now you hardly get people who want to do things for free. You hardly get people who want to do things because I want to see my city, my town, my village developing. Let us bring that spirit back. We have only one Ghana, and we are the only people who can develop Ghana. So whatever it takes to support the cause of developing an area which would invariably lead to the development of the country, it is the duty of every Ghanaian to make sure that is done. It is only when we are able to do that that we can hold others accountable.
So, I mean, should that thing start from the top or the bottom, this spirit?
I think it must start from both. National development is a process that requires collective responsibility, and everybody must get involved. But the top must show leadership, and then the local people must follow.
You see, because the reason why I asked that question is, it goes back to me saying that if I have appointed my friend to come and lead it, and you know that my friend is accountable to me, it's very difficult for you to sacrifice for the district, knowing that the guy who's taking the fastest check is not sacrificing.
Yes, so if I see it as my responsibility, you see it as yours, he sees it as his. If I become the DC, I wouldn't say because you appointed me, I will do what you like, but I will look at the collective responsibility of us all as citizens, and then we work with that.
Well, all too soon, that's what time will allow us. I knew that this conversation, we needed more time, but we did our best, Thank you very much, gentlemen. And as I say, thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Thank you.